Welcome to Watch the Bookerman and the first video that I'm doing on the channel for TEW 2020. This is, I think, going to be an 8-part series. I'm intending to book 8 shows in this save during the 2 months that are available in the public beta or trial demo, whatever you want to call it. The news story there you may see, Kurt Angle takes over HOW. I'll give a bit of a background to that promotion soon. But the idea, as you can see with the calendar, is that we've moved forward to January 2021 as a result of the limitations of the demo, but also because I wanted to start a game sort of hopefully further enough in the future that we don't have to worry about the travel bans and the behind closed doors shows. I want to move away from the current climate, and in light of that, somebody has set up a promotion. A mysterious backer is always put in the biography. Conceived in late 2020, Kurt Angle's Heroes of Wrestling is a promotion set up to bring ex-WWE Superstars to the world, leaning heavily on those names who were released quite recently, April 2020, the likes of EC3, Rusev. You can see the list of the roster there. The promotion will be based in Australia and those will be the first shows, but the idea is to tour worldwide eventually, build up a bit of a reputation of bringing the stars who you might not necessarily see anymore on the WE tours to a more intimate environment, and to see the people who obviously a lot of people feel were wrongly released and who clearly have a lot of talent. There's a very, very talented roster just from that group of people. It's almost reminiscent and is inspired by the Hulkamania tour. That was over a decade, I think it was late 2009, just before he went to TNA actually. I think we've got a bit of a better roster than that. However, we don't quite have the draw of Hulk Hogan v Ric Flair, which was a big part of some of those shows. We only have 19 people. I'm pretty sure that I've got everybody who was released. There was somebody in NXT, Alexander, I can't remember his surname, but I couldn't find him in the mod. But I've got all the recognisable names who were let go, and I'm going to get into the first show very, very soon. Between this point, which is the first day of the save, and the first day of the show, I'm also going to look to add a few more people in. I added these in the pre-game editor just to ensure that I had all these people secured and locked down for the 2 months that this save is going to last. If it's something that I really get into, it might last longer than that, but currently it is just planned to be 2 months. And I do want to pad out the roster with some few extra people, some surprises, and hopefully that show can give us a positive start to the first series of TEW 2020. So the show is booked, and while I have booked a couple of shows in TEW 2020 already, one of which went absolutely terribly, I'm still very much on the learning curve of what to do and what not to do, especially with all the different changes. So I'm expecting a couple of surprises to be thrown up during the course of this show. I already had one surprise which I'll address when we get to the relevant segment in the show, but a big spanner in the works and the plans of this entire save going forward. But like I said, we work around it and it should be okay. The Kurt Angle Heroes of Wrestling Tour Night 1 begins with Kurt making his way out to the ring, introducing everybody to the show, thanking them for coming out. He is so happy to be in Australia, etc, etc. When a voice is heard, Aiden English doing I suppose it'd have to be a modified version of the Rusev Day introduction, because he probably wouldn't be Rusev in any other promotion due to copyright, etc. But I've not changed the names here because I just wanted everybody to be recognisable as the characters. But Aiden English is joined by Rusev. They go in the ring and it looks like they're actually confronting Kurt Angle, but Rusev has a bit of a laugh. He was only messing around. He respects Kurt Angle. He's an American hero. Rusev's a Bulgarian brute, but they can get along. It's going to be great. He can't wait also to be part of this. Rusev is then cut off by Ethan Carter. He shaved his head in real life, and we want him to be more of a serious psychopathic character in this. Rockstar Spud's behind him and he's sort of scurrying along behind him, trying to get him to calm down. Obviously, even Rockstar Spud, his best friend, is worried about what Ethan Carter's going to do, and he gets in the face of Kurt Angle, then in the face of Rusev. Things look heated, we expect a brawl, but Kurt Angle, as he did so expertly as the Raw General Manager, comes between them. He says that on the Heroes of Wrestling tour, we're going to settle things in the ring. So everybody debuting their gimmicks there. Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist, very good. Great, adequate, very good. So that's a really good start. The segment gets only a 40, but thankfully the colour's green, so it doesn't look as bad as it could have done. Previously I'd have been disappointed with that, but I'm actually quite pleased with a 40 because it's green. So that's going to be interesting as we go through the show. A lot of positive notes. It went on a bit too long for the audience, which is fine. I think I did put it up to 12 minutes, which, thinking about it, probably was too long. I've downloaded a skin from the forum. I'll put a link to that in the description because I really do like how it makes the game look. The buttons more clear, things like that. We're getting some bonuses there, but again, segment was penalised for being too long, so that's something to keep in mind. As we go into the next segment, we have the main event set up there, Rusev versus EC3. Aiden English is actually on commentary, but Rockstar Spud will be at ringside for that match. The opening match of the tour is terrible, gets a 33 rating, so I think that would have been something like an E, maybe an E+. Hawkins and Ryder pick up a crowd-pleasing victory over the Colons, a rough rider from Zack Ryder and Uth. Great chemistry, and the commentary giving the match a boost, but the other commentator, Scarlett Harris, unfortunately a poor rating for her gimmick, but it's only staff member, same as Mike Chioda really. For the guys in the ring, it's all good ratings, apart from Zack Ryder, whose dude gimmick gets a poor rating. Should have a look at the dirt sheet. I don't normally have the dirt sheet on, but I've not switched it off yet. A lot of bonuses there. Kurt Hawkins holding back, unfortunately, same with Zack Ryder, and a few different things that have caused negatives, and it's a pretty poor first match, to be honest. That's something that I am aware of. Most of the guys on this roster aren't very over in Australia. If I'd done this in America, like I probably should have done, it would have been a much better match, and I think a better show overall, but I wanted to do it in Australia just because it was related to that Hulk Hogan one they did about a decade ago. Not too bothered about the rating, but obviously it's not great, and again we see a celebration angle, a basic celebration angle, not getting a very good rating either. As we go into the second match of the night, it's Crazy Mary Dobson. In the database she is as this name, so I didn't change it back to Sarah Logan, but it is the Riot Squad's former member Sarah Logan. Her status is a bit up in the air in the WWE at the moment, but as far as I'm concerned, she's been released, so she was available for this show. She defeats Deonna in another poor match, only 20 rating, which is what Crazy Mary Dobson gets, and Deonna with a 15. An awful and poor ratings for the gimmicks. Extremist, I probably should have changed that before. Cooled the crowd as well, so not really a very good thing. Deonna is inexperienced. A lot of negatives there I can see, but some bonuses for the refereeing and the road agent work. That's a great part of having Kurt Angle on this. He's a personality on screen, but he's also a road agent, thanks to the fact that people can now have multiple roles within the show. So I can't think who it was, but like Aiden English is, I think, a manager, a wrestler, and a commentator. So that's really good to have people who are a little bit more versatile and being able to use as jacks of all trade kind of thing. Eric Young similarly is in a match tonight, but he's also road agented some of the stuff that we've done as well. Crazy Mary Dobson is looking very serious after her match. We're going to push her as a heel figure, I think, and that then is in contrast with No Way Jose's music hitting. He is joined by Candy Lee, who is a local talent who is only being used for tonight. She might be brought back later on down the line, but No Way Jose's fun babyface gimmicks gets a poor rating. He's just celebrating, he's just having a good time. Obviously this annoys Dobson because she is a fairly serious figure. He goes into a match with Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett picking up the victory with a photo finish. Again, it's a poor match. Again, it's poor ratings. And it went on too long considering it was a comedy bout. I just wanted to try it out and see how that'd go. But yeah, 11 minutes for a comedy bout is probably too much. Bennett, another poor rating for a gimmick. The dirt sheet telling us that, again, the road agent's doing a good job, but they're always going to give matches that are this bad a little bit of a boost. And after the match, Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis rub in the fact that No Way Jose didn't do a particularly good job in that match, confronting Candy Lee, who is checking on him and saying, is this your knight in shining armour? Is this the man who's supposed to protect you? Is this your hero? This sets up for a hero to make an appearance, Chris Hero in this time, and he comes down and takes out Mike Bennett with his signature forearms. Chris Hero then stands tall, checking on No Way Jose, and standing tall with Candy Lee to end the first hour of the show. It says there needed to be a little more star power in the segment because Chris Hero is fighting for that long. He wasn't actually in the segment for the whole time, so maybe I could have used the cameo road agent note for the segment. I don't think I did any road agent notes, no. It did go for 4 minutes, so that's again something I've learned. Learning something with every show. A lot of penalties there, and another really, really bad segment. A boost to psychology during matches for Chris Hero's gimmick. Losing charisma for Maria Kanellis, not very good. But yeah, another poor segment and the end of a poor first hour, really. I've not been a fan of seeing the segment ratings. I do like to have letter grades, but moreover the fact that it's really, really small. But to show the other side of the coin, when you're booking a terrible show, I've barely even noticed how bad it's been, so yeah, two sides of each coin. I'm very, very happy to not have to see a big red E- staring me in the face there. And like I said, we go into the second hour. Mick Foley coming out. I've just noticed we've got 559 people. I'm sure it said we should have about 900. So I don't know why that is, but still, for a first show for a company, it's not too bad. And we get an appearance from Mick Foley, who's pretty much the only other legend on the tour with Kurt Angle, and it sees us get a segment, the lofty ratings of 45. Foley looking good, but Lio Rush underperforming. After Foley cuts his usual fan favourite cheap pop promo, Lio Rush comes out and is very disrespectful to the legend. Obviously that's a large part of his character, the cocky, disrespectful youngster, and he's saying that Mick Foley shouldn't even be on this tour, why have they flown him out, etc. Heath Slater comes out and he says that just like Mick, he's got to fight for his family, that's why they're all here, that's why they're all in the squared circle. Heath Slater and Mick Foley both improvising well, so that is good to see, and that just leads us into the fourth match of the night, Heath Slater versus Lio Rush, and Lio Rush actually picks up the victory with a roll-up after distraction from Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett was just humiliated by Chris Hero before that segment, but he's come back out for whatever reason we don't really know and cost Heath Slater the match, perhaps bitter of the fact that people like him, perhaps upset that Heath Slater's performances is getting a rating of 33, whereas he was in the 20s, I think. We'll find out in a promo probably on the next show, but for now, we have no real reason why Mike Bennett has helped Lio Rush. Nonetheless, they work together to lay into Heath Slater after the match, and the real reason for this segment, the real reason for throwing Mike Bennett and Lio Rush together is because Rhino makes his appearance. He wasn't originally on the roster, but he's one of the people I've signed, and I thought it'd be a nice surprise to bring Heath Slater's former SmackDown Tag Team Championship holding partner. Gets a poor rating for the segment, and it's a 13 rated segment. I think it was rated on all of their overnesses. It was the attack and save default angle. That is, I think that's the worst. I mean, I didn't expect this to be good, but this is a lot worse than I expected. But like I said, not too bothered about the ratings, although, I mean, 13, that is a little bit harsh. Anyway, we get a bad promo from Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers. Two of the more surprising cuts from the WWE. Of course, they'd just been in the WrestleMania Night 1 main event pretty much before they got fired, and they just cut a promo. We don't need to tell these two what to talk about. They're charismatic, they're entertaining guys, and they just go out and say their piece ahead of their match with Insanity. Gallows and Anderson, the experienced and cohesive unit, defeat Insanity, Eric Young and Eric Rowan. They were just two guys left over on the roster. I think they work quite well together, their images, and I can see Eric Young leading Eric Rowan with him as his henchman. Those 30 ratings, 33 ratings are starting to look pretty good now, which is a sign of how badly things have gone. Unfortunately, Eric Young gets a poor rating. Eric Rowan's badass gimmick doing very well. Kurt Hawkins isn't a very good road agent. That's something that I need to keep in mind. Again, a lot of penalties. That's obviously what we're going to be getting. Hopefully these shows we can see some progression and some improvement throughout the course of this save. And after the match, the Bullet Club, the former OC members, stand tall celebrating their victory. Just before the main event, EC3 comes out, and despite me saying earlier he sort of adopted a more badass character, he comes and pulls the sick note. The reason for this, basically, an oversight from me. He had a starting injury in the mod, I didn't delete it, so he's still got a concussion for 31 days, so we're paying him for these 2 months, but he's not going to wrestle. I think from the next show I'm going to put him on commentary, continue his verbal sparring with Aiden English, and eventually I think the big main event of the last show that I booked for this save will be Ethan Carter v Rusev in some form. Maybe Kurt Angle as a special guest referee. Maybe him coming out of retirement, although I don't really see it. I don't even think I can set him to wrestle in this, even though he's my user character. I think that he's completely done in the ring in terms of this mod. It was a decent segment, a 61. That is so far above anything else on the show. I can't remember what the first segment got because I weren't really paying attention as much then, because I expected it to be pretty smooth sailing. But yeah, very, very good segment. But Kurt Angle comes out and replaces Ethan Carter with Rockstar Spud. I'm a big fan of Rockstar Spud, but I don't think in terms of being the main event of your first show, Rockstar Spud and Rusev, it doesn't quite have the same feel or appeal to me as Ethan Carter v Rusev. Of course, Carter has been a world champion outside of the WWE, and Rusev is a very popular figure, but we'll see how that, yeah, it's a very disappointing main event, and it would have been much better with Ethan Carter, I think. I think Rockstar Spud was in single figures popularity in the US. Rusev puts in a good performance. I think that's the performance of the night, so happy with that. We're continuing the main storyline, but I think we have to have, I think, 3 storylines over 35, so I don't think we're going to have that. Rockstar Spud off his game. Bonuses for all the things we normally see. A bonus for the storyline, which is good, but we've probably brought it back down to below what it needs to be. Yeah, a bit of a disaster of a show overall. And we end with, despite Rockstar Spud putting in a valiant effort, I think that was about a 10-minute match. The idea being that Rusev overpowered and was better than Rockstar Spud throughout, but he did put in a good fight to last 10 minutes against a much bigger, stronger and more respected, I suppose, compared. Rockstar Spud's always been a very, very entertaining comedy character from when I've seen him in like TNA and in WWE when he's been wrestling. He doesn't have the aura or the credibility of a Rusev, but he did do a good job, but it is not enough for Ethan Carter, who berates him after the match. Aiden English actually gets up and steps in. He thinks that Carter's just going too far, but Carter laughs Aiden English off. He's not afraid of a commentator. Rusev then steps up, and Ethan Carter realises that he's dealing with somebody who could beat him up, so he backs off. Rockstar Spud and Ethan Carter leave, Carter continuing to berate Spud as Rusev and Aiden English, the former Rusev Day, stand tall to end the show. Wow, that's a lot of red. I mean, that EC3 Kurt Angle segment was good. Nobody can deny that. It also increased our popularity in 24 regions, but it is only a 31 rated overall show. Losing us popularity in 7 regions, which I think is all the Australian regions. We used Rockstar Spud too much. We used Rusev too much, even though he's probably the biggest star in the company. We used Leo Rush, Aiden English, and the storylines didn't catch on like I'd hoped. Unfortunate. I think I'm going to give some good words to EC3, Ethan Carter. I'm Kurt Angle, so I can't do that. Rusev. Did anybody else stand out as a good performance? I'm only giving Carter that because he was part of that massive segment. Who was in the 45 rated segment? Heath Slater did a good job, actually. And he put over Leo Rush, which he wasn't very happy about. So, make the speech. Pleased, as expected. And I'm just going to see what the reaction on the website is. See if that's changed at all. And just have a look at that side of things. I do like the new loading screens giving you more information on the workers, though. That's definitely good. Will help you learn more about this. Is particularly good in the Cornelverse. There's a lot of new people. So, yeah, learning about their biographies and their skills really does get you to know the new people you've not used before in the previous games. Well, so there's not going to be a second series of the Big Show. Where's our show? Heroes of Wrestling Night 1. So we got a buy rate, a pay-per-view. I set up my own network. I didn't think I'd done it as a pay-per-view. I thought I'd done it as a subscription, but it doesn't matter. 137,000 people. That is a lot of people watching a very, very bad show. But I suppose if you're watching these guys in America, they are pretty over. So maybe that's where we got more of our buys from rather than Australia. I think I set it up as, it cost us a lot of money, but I set it up in Australia as medium, British Isles, Canada and US as small, so that's probably why. We've got an email, got a good viewing figure. I think the buy rate there, I think, is that the same number? Yeah. Lack of big names, so that's perhaps something. Need to bring some more big names onto this tour. Rusev has gone from bulky to flabby. I suppose he's not wrestled for a long time, but that's a shame. What was the actual reaction to the show? I don't know how to. Heroes of Wrestling, there we go. It was pretty good, especially for a company that size. It got a 31, but I suppose if with that small of a company, it's good. I'm happy with that. Definitely a lot to build on. Looking forward to Carter being back from injury. Looking forward to bringing in some new names. Rusev, of course, is going to be a big part of the roster, and we'll see what happens on the second night of the tour. I think we've set up a few storylines there. Nothing particularly outstanding, but I think as we develop through the 8 shows, the next 7 shows, we are going to get some good storylines, and I'm looking forward to that season finale show. I think we'll be able to put on a really good show for that, and I'm expecting better than 31, let's put it that way.